Hello, my friends, and welcome back to Meerkat Musings. I am your host, Ben, aka Daft Timon. Just bringing up a few things from the past couple of weeks. Basically, it's my video version of my Meerkat Muse and, designed to accompany the website, so on and so forth, blah, 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 blah. Without too much preamble, let's just get into the world of this Meerkat over the last couple of weeks. You may recall that I've had some trouble with a jacket that I ordered for my wife. That trouble is still rumbling on. I've now had two jackets, both of which carry the same flaw, both of which have spelt the name of the late Chester Bennington incorrectly. Bearing in mind that these are Linkin Park tribute jackets, I think that's a cardinal sin, really, in respect of that. And I'm having a little bit of a fight on my hands trying to get a refund. And what I want at this stage is a refund. I don't want another jacket. Twice they have sent jackets. Twice they have been wrong. So my confidence in this company to provide me with what I want is basically zero. So the way I see it is quite simply, as I have products I cannot use, I should have my money back. That is a challenge, as it often is with some companies, but I'm trying to do that. And I'm also embroiled in a fight with my local council as well. You may recall I mentioned a problem with a collection. That is still rumbling along as well. For whatever reason, they seem to be unable to fulfill their obligations. At what point do I have to make other plans with that? At what point do I run the risk of the council trying to give me grief over an alleged failure to fulfill my obligations? Well, at that point, I will resist quite thoroughly because the way I see it, this is the council's fault, but we'll cross that bridge as and when we come to it. All I can do in the meantime is exert some pressure on the council to try and get them to actually fulfill their obligations. But if you've ever dealt with a local authority, you will understand that can be a mighty challenge sometimes. Still, it needs doing. The way I see it is it needs doing. So all I can do is try. What else has been going on over the last couple of weeks? Well, I've been to see a panto in my old stomping grounds of Stevenage. Went up there with my wife and daughter. A little bit chaotic in terms of who was attending. That kept shifting a little bit. There was a bit of confusion. But in the end, saw the panto. Peter Pan, I felt, was a slightly unusual choice for a panto. It was okay. It wasn't the best panto I've seen there, in all fairness, but it was nonetheless quite entertaining at various points. It has all the typical slapstick humour that appeals to kids. There's, as there often is with these things, plenty of innuendo to entertain the adults. And, generally speaking, it's a family fun panto. You get exactly what you pay for. We followed this with an earlier trip home than usual, largely because my parents were going out, other things were going on. So we headed home via St. Pancras Station, which is gorgeous, it must be said. And my wife wanted to go there because there was this big exhibition to do with the new Wicked film. And they had like a mock-up of the Emerald City, among other things, and we took all that in. Took in the grandeur of St. Pancras, it must be said, which is, as I say, a gorgeous station. And then we headed home via a local fish and chip shop, because it was rude not to. And that was that. That was our Saturday, as it were. Quite a busy affair, but a little bit different, a little bit unusual, and always, as I say, by and large, a good time. The only thing that was a bit of a drag on things was the incredible rain that we had. It just didn't stop, and it felt like that for a couple of days, actually. We are in that time of year, of course, where we can't escape the obvious. We can't escape that we're now firmly, well and truly into December. And, it's colder now. Of course it is. It's winter. We've moved out of even the last vestiges of warmth that we had in autumn and well and truly into winter. And so we have to accept that we're going to have to put on, our jumpers, we're going to have to put on our coats and just sort of crack on with things, really. December, of course, also brings with it something else. It brings about the festive season. Christmas is here, or is beginning to be here, I should say. I've actually got myself a Christmas advent calendar. It's themed, but via, if you live in the UK, you'll know what I mean, celebrations. So that's things like Snickers bars, Mars bars, Galaxy chocolate, that kind of thing. However, my advent calendar has betrayed me. The first 3 days, it's been nothing but bounties. Now, I don't like bounties. They're basically chocolate-coated coconut. And I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of coconut full stop, really. So to get 3 of them in a row is just horrific, if you ask me. If it were up to me, they wouldn't be in there. I know some people do like them, fair enough. But why does it have to be 3 for the first 3 flipping days? That's crazy. But nonetheless, that's what we wound up with in this particular calendar. Oh well, ho-hum. I didn't pay for the calendar, so beggars can't be choosers and all that. I want to go back a second or two and just speak about the Wicked film that we saw at the cinema the other day. Really, really good. Absolutely brilliant. I've not seen the musical, whereas my wife and daughter have. So I didn't know what to expect. But it was actually breathtakingly brilliant, it must be said, and really enjoyable. And it really kind of flips some of the conventions you might think of from The Wizard of Oz completely onto its head. It kind of subverts who we're supposed to think of as being the bad guy, as it were. And, you certainly have a lot of sympathy and empathy, I dare say, for Elphaba. And, you kind of feel that she was, from the moment that she was born, the poor girl is placed into a horrible situation, basically. And I'm not going to spoil the story, but it's kind of empowering, it's heartwarming, it's emotional, it's bold, it's powerful, and I think you can see why the musical has been such a huge success for many, many years. So if you get the chance to see the film, go for it. I think you'll be very, very pleased should you get the chance to see the film. What else has been happening? Not loads, really, over the last couple of weeks. Work, of course, as always. And that's been, November was a very lonely month in many respects, owing to holidays, owing to having to use holidays. There were a lot of occasions where I was working on my own. And I'm actually facing more of that as we move through December. Not as much in the early part of December, but particularly as we move beyond the middle of December. I'm actually staring at a spell of 5 consecutive days of working on my own at one point. Now, it won't necessarily pan out that way, but that's what I'm currently sort of looking at. And, okay, you know what? Ho-hum, it's one of those things. A couple of days you can sort of manage. 5 days will be a different situation, I think. But there isn't a lot that can be done about it. We're trying to recruit, but of course, you want to recruit the right person. You can't just rush these things. You get the wrong people in, things could go badly wrong. And you could be back to square one with some added problems to go with it. So it's a question of patiently seeing who we can get and who we can get that is either going to start out in a decent position or can be moulded into being a good salesperson. I think you can teach the products that we sell, but what you need and what we want is to get someone in who has an ability to sell, and you can't necessarily easily teach that. although I think you can to a point, but you also have to have the right attitude, and it's finding that combination of ingredients to kind of get someone in that can meet that criteria. And we're struggling with that a bit, but we can't run on two people forever. The bottom line is, if one of us wants to go on holiday, the other person loan trades for several days. Maybe not because of cover from other stores, but that's not always an option. So lots to unravel, lots to unpack as we move through December. I did mention, going back a few pages, that we are into the festive season. For me, Christmas starts no earlier than the 1st of December. That is my personal Christmas policy. When I say Christmas starts on the 1st of December, what I mean is that's when I will permit myself to enjoy the decorations, the music, the films, that kind of thing. I understand most thoroughly about the importance of preparing for Christmas beforehand. I understand the need to think about getting presents and that kind of thing. Although in fairness, I tend not to do that until December, I must admit. Sometimes I'm more organised than that, sometimes I'm not. But in terms of actually celebrating Christmas, I don't think that should happen until December the 1st. Otherwise, you're overdoing it. You're oversaturating what should be a special time of year. Christmas has meaning because it's a brief spell in December. If you start to push Christmas too heavily in November or even in October, as has been the case sometimes, when you oversaturate Christmas with the adverts and that kind of thing, you can lose some of that magic, and you do lose some of that magic. So for me, Christmas is a December thing, and it has to be a December thing. Anything else is going too far with it, if you ask me. Obviously, different people will have different opinions, but that's my view on how you should do things at Christmas. But now that they're into December, now we can enjoy the season and prepare for it in earnest as well. An interesting and potentially controversial twist, one of the things that we've been talking about in our house is maybe dispensing with the traditional Christmas dinner, which involves a lot of preparation. It creates a lot of washing up and that kind of stuff. We might dispense with all of that in favour more of party food and nibbly bits and that kind of thing. Stuff which is quick and easy to make, quick and easy to eat, entertaining, enjoyable. And of course, a lot of it is still very, very festive. I mean, I can't remember which supermarket it is, but one's doing Santa-themed Bayo buns. Very unusual. And there's all sorts of these wonderful little sort of creations you can get, which might just make Christmas a little bit different this year. And yeah, it might be the thing that we do this year for Christmas. I don't know yet. We're not settled on that idea, but it seems to be what we're building up to. Now, I also kind of feel, and I've refrained actually from mentioning this on the website, but I'm going to mention it in this video, as much as I think I'm going to regret doing this. I need to mention a footballing elephant in the room. I have been doing my level best to not get too excited by football ever since the end of the European Championships in July, which once again brought a false sense of hope to my door when it came to football and England in particular. And following on from another nearly season for Liverpool, I just thought, you know what, I can't have any time or energy or optimism where football's concerned. So for a time, I kind of refocused onto Formula One. That has let me down as well. And I just have kind of been left in something of a sporting void. The sports that I follow have not been delivering much joy for me in terms of the results I hope for. And football in particular, aside from one or two seasons, I've seen my beloved Liverpool go close many times and fall up short many times. And it just reached the point where I was like, you know what, I cannot let myself be entertained by this anymore. I can't let this be something that I feel happy about or joyful about, because it would let me down. And I just kind of didn't want false optimism in my system anymore. So, of course, this season, what Liverpool are doing is they're conspiring to do everything they can to wave and dangle hope and optimism at me. As of the publishing of this video, they have been, or as of not the publishing, but as of the recording of this video, I should say, they've been putting together some incredible results. Out of all the games that they've played this season, I think it's something like 18 games across all competitions. It's 18 or 19. I don't know. Whatever it is, Liverpool have so far only failed to win twice in all competitions. They lost at home to Nottingham Forest in the Premier League and drew with Arsenal, also in the Premier League. The Forest result being by far and away the biggest shock result for them this season. Credit to Forest, they've actually had a very good start to the season. Drawing away against Arsenal, no great shame in that, because Arsenal have been there or thereabouts in terms of title contention over the last few years. So no great dishonour in that, of course. But every other result has been a demonstration of a change in discipline, a change in approach. There's elements of the Liverpool of the last few seasons there. Under Jurgen Klopp, I'm going to bore you about football now, I'm sorry. Under Jurgen Klopp, Liverpool played an energetic, high-press game and kind of an energetic, fierce, attacking football policy. And that, to be fair, did deliver, among other things, a Champions League title and a Premier League title. So you could argue that the policy worked to a point. But it was also, there was a lot of kind of nearly moments, some moments where perhaps what Liverpool needed to do was throttle back a little bit and be a bit calmer, a bit more controlled. And under new manager Arne Slot, who I will confess I had never heard of before, that's exactly what we're seeing. Liverpool will still play the pressing game and they'll still have that high tempo policy, but not all the time. They will bring that back and rein themselves in and be controlled more or be patient more. And that seems to be yielding better results. I mean, among the highlights, there was beating Champions League holders Real Madrid at Anfield recently in a very cool, composed performance that looked the real deal. And then beating Manchester City at the weekend. Again, very composed performance, but with some great attacking moments. And in that game, actually, I mean, the ironic thing was, in what I saw in the second half, Liverpool ceded possession quite a lot, but they also held their shape very, very well. They didn't have as much of the ball, but they didn't need it. They were disciplined in defence, and when they did break forward, they looked a lot more dangerous than City did. Those results, among others, have in the Premier League built up a 9-point lead at the top of the table for Liverpool, which is it's hardly insurmountable. We're not even at the halfway point of the season, but it is an impressive advantage to have at any point of a season. My fear is, and this is where perhaps the cynical Meerkat in me is kind of screaming for attention, my fear is that somehow Liverpool will conspire to blow it. That somehow this is all one great big false dawn, and I should not be getting my hopes up. Until the title is secured, my thought will be that it's still possible for us to lose it somehow. And there are tough matches ahead. Up next, I think it's away to Newcastle for Liverpool. Newcastle have been very hot and cold this season. And but on their day, especially at home, they've got some very good players, and they should not be written off in any way, shape or form. And then we've got at some point we've got to go away to Man City. We've got to go away to face Spurs. We've got to play Chelsea at least one more time. And Chelsea have been very, very good this season, it must be said as well. We'll have to host Arsenal at some point. So, we'll host Manchester United at some point. Plenty of potentially tricky matches. There's the derby games against Everton. Everton have been struggling this season, but, it's a derby. They'll be up for it. So there's lots of potential banana skins, and that's why I don't want to get my hopes up. I've had my heart broken too many times by football down the years to even dare let myself think that we have a chance. It would be, in my view, very, very foolish to be optimistic about the football. So yeah, that's the elephant in the room, as I say, that maybe I shouldn't have even given voice to, but I did. So that's me, and that's Meerkat over the last sort of couple of weeks. There's a lot more detail on meerkatmusings.co.uk. Of course there is. I am much better with the written word than I am the spoken word. In fact, one last thing on the subject of the written word. I have completed the first round of edits for the sequel to The Awakening, which will be The Schism. And that's now back in the hands of the publisher for them to do the necessaries and to make sure that it's all done, and then to move it on to the beta readers, where they then kind of, I think, dig into the story a bit more. And once all of that is done, at some point we will then move that back to me for any further changes. Once that's done, it goes back to publisher again, and then hopefully it's ticked off, cover work is done, and it's put into the queue for release. The aim is to release it at some point next year, but I don't know precisely when. I don't know if we're looking at a first half of the year, a second half of the year. I have no idea. But nonetheless, it's done, and it's very exciting. This will be my second book, and it will be amazing to see that out there. I've already started work very, very tentatively, it must be said, on part 3, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I'm very proud of what I've done with The Schism, and I think it very much kind of tells the story I want to tell, and we'll move that forward. And a bit of luck when it comes out, some of you might sort of buy it, read it, hopefully really enjoy it. So that is me for the last couple of weeks. I hope you've enjoyed me ramble on for absolutely freaking forever, and hopefully you will stay tuned for more eclectic content, both here on my YouTube channel, but also on meerkatmusings.co.uk. Take care, everyone. Love you all.